This is the Joy at Work podcast, and I'm Lucia Knight. Here's this week's question from a listener.
I've just been in an interview. They asked, "Tell me about yourself." I totally messed up my answer and it derailed the interview. Is there a good way to answer that?
Oh, yes, there is a great way. But first, let's talk about why interviewers even ask this question. It's not a trick question. It's not an assessment of your entire career strategy. It's a breather. You see, for most people, interviews are awkward, hard, unnatural, especially for the person asking the questions. They may have just come from a machine gun question meeting that fried their brain. Or they might have had to sell their soul to book this very meeting room, the one that you're sitting in. Or gotten distracted by a workday disaster before remembering that they're supposed to start this important interview in 60 seconds. So they throw out a catch-all starter question. Tell me about yourself. Which roughly translates as, give me a minute to collect myself. And guess what? That question is a gift. An underused and wasted gift that most people squander with a mediocre run through their work history, starting at the beginning of time. But there's no worse way to get rejected from an interview process than dulling someone to death. Instead, nail this question in 30 seconds or less. That's a different story. It gives them just enough time to take a deep breath. And what it does for you is it builds intrigue so that they turn their ear closer to you and lean in. Oh, tell me more. It sets the tone. It says, I'm the one you'll want to remember. So after all the interviews, when they're comparing and contrasting, they're talking about you. And for that to happen, you have to be memorable. And most importantly, a good answer to the question, tell me about yourself, increases your chances of being chosen massively. Think of it as a drive-by, a quick glance at a potentially high-value property to see if it's got the curb appeal you're looking for. You've got about 30 seconds to make them think, we want to hear more. So don't waste it listing degrees from decades ago or explaining every job since the dawn of time. I spent 20 years in recruitment and headhunting, and believe me, I learned really quickly never to ask the tell me more question to experienced people. Nothing makes me want to claw my own eyes out faster than a rambling career story that ends with, and that takes me to today. There are so many better ways to answer the tell me about yourself question. Here's just a few examples. Approach number 1, the who I'm not answer. Hey, Lucia, lovely to see you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, my CV says what I've done and who I am, but sometimes it's helpful to also know who I'm not. I'm not the kind of person who coasts through work or sets the bar really low. I don't show up unprepared or stand on top of people to get ahead. I don't believe that kindness is a weakness. I've seen it be one of the most powerful ways to motivate and lead people through difficult times. Unexpected? Maybe. Memorable in comparison to the standard work-life timeline? Very. Approach number 2, the proud work and personal combination. This method hints at much, but keeps the interviewer wanting more. So, Lucia, tell me about yourself. Well, whether as a headhunter or a psychologist or a career designer, the work I've done has always helped people to go where they want to go. I spend an awful lot of time, my time, energy, and money learning new skills. I've raised 2 daughters with my husband, and I once recorded an album that made it to #1 in the charts for 3 days. So this is a lovely big picture, intriguing way to begin an interview between 2 mature humans. And if your story is true and told with ease, it sticks. And then approach number 3, the strengths without saying superpowers method. If you've been listening for a while, you know that one of the cornerstones of great career design is superpowers. The 4 things that you do uniquely well. And when you get to do them in just the right way for you, you feel joy, energy, satisfaction. I never, ever advise saying the word superpowers in any interview. It rarely lands well, but instead show their impact on others around you. So, Lucia, tell me about yourself. Well, I'm known in work for 3 major things: turning human complexity into actionable movement, training people who actually get better fast, and writing data reports so useful that people actually want to read them. And outside work, I've become known for my last decade of unusual experiments with friends, disastrous camping trips with kids, and a 1,003-day Duolingo Spanish streak that I'm ridiculously proud of. Again, this needs to be real and authentic about you, but relevant to them. And really, it should be very light touch on the personal life. If you use any of these approaches, it takes more planning, but the return on investment is potentially huge because you've not bored the interviewers into a coma, you've made them want to learn more about you and your work and potentially your life. And they want to then tune in to the rest of the interview. I hope this answers our listeners' question this week. There's no one perfect way to answer the tell me about yourself question, but please, God, pick something or an approach that doesn't make them yawn. Craft your 30 seconds. Tell a short, brilliant story about who you really are and what you actually bring. Because interviews are just human beings who are trying to find the next human being in their team. And it's your job to show them that they need you. The interesting, useful, memorable version of you. And when you show that version of you, you're way more likely to experience joy in work, and they're way more likely to let you.